Tiny Tarot, hey, what have you got to say today? I am Christina Smart, aka Low Key Magical, and I am here with my sassy little deck of Tiny Tarot cards to answer the more pertinent questions that are coming, as I put a question mark on the end of that, pertinent questions as they are coming through my channel, my Tiny Tarot channel today. And I am here with Earl Hale of Toy Robot Productions. Toy Robot Productions is responsible for producing the Tiny Tarot podcast. Thank you so much for being here, Earl. You do such a great job producing this podcast. Earl says, hey, peace. He's not mic'd up today. Why? Because we are going through some massive changes at the Tiny Tarot podcast. My studio is going to be changing locations. So this magical number 22, episode number 22, is the last one from this particular location. And as excited as I am, I'm also a little, because I don't really know what the next studio space is going to bring for us. It hasn't coalesced yet, but it's going to. And so, of course, that is a perfect way to roll into our topic, our question for Tiny Tarot today. It is, how do we best roll through massive accelerated change? Because this accelerated change that I am personally experiencing is just in microcosm what's going on for everyone right now. It feels as if the pedal has been pressed to the floor when it comes to a lot of projects that would just things that are happening around us. The world itself is just accelerating. And we do know that there is a vibrational change taking place. Those of us that are empaths, those of us that have been, I want to say, doing this for a while, not our first rodeo, we know that this is when the rubber hits the road. This is why we've been doing the light work all this time. This is what we should have prepared for, as I've said before. Because when it comes to technology, when it comes to society, when it comes to everything that seems to have been progressing faster and faster and faster, now the world that we go to sleep in is not the same world that we wake up in, right? The world that we wake up in 12, 14 hours later when you go to sleep, it's a very different world from when you woke up. That's how fast this planet is accelerating. That's how fast our discoveries are becoming. That's how fast information exchange is becoming. And we've got to ride that wave. Because at some point, I think that's what we're labeling the singularity. At some point, it's going to become something that we have to literally shift gears spiritually, physically, dimensionally. And I'm not saying that pop, like something crazy happens and we're suddenly floating in nowhere. It's not like that, but it's something that we're going to have to ease into if we want the transition to be as smooth as possible. And how do we do that? Well, changes like what I'm working with right now, getting an entire studio, an entire place where we live, uprooted and moved to another wonderful space, but one that hasn't completely finished yet. And I'll be honest, I did a little magic to make sure that this process went quickly, and now I'm holding on like I'm on a roller coaster. It's going so quick. My intentions are being answered very quickly. Was I ready for it to be that quick? No, really, I wasn't. But hey, here we go. So that's our question for Tiny Tarot today is how do we individually and globally, that's really big. Oh my gosh. But we know that we're all in microcosm. We're doing this together. I mean, come on. So our experience is individual. So how do we mostly individually, thank you, Tiny Tarot, for helping me narrow that down, navigate this massive change in a way that benefits us? Because we know what we're coming out on the other side is going to be okay. I've channeled that more than once. We don't really know. We don't really have a great explanation for how it's going to be because it's so different. But we know we're going to be okay at the end of it. So I am going to divide these cards into 3 equal stacks. And I am going to ask Earl, the podcast master. That should be your little jingle. Can you use that? Earl, the podcast master. Yeah, he says he will. All right. I would like you to choose deck 1, 2, or 3.
3.
And he says deck number 3 today. And that's where we're going to start. And the first card, oh my gosh, you guys. All right. This channeler cries every time she does a tarot read. But you don't understand that when I was pondering this question earlier, the thing happened where tarot cards began to kind of come in and answer my questions, and the very first tarot card that I got in my mind's eye was the Two of Cups. So, and this is just another confirmation that my channel is consistent. That makes me feel good, and it makes my eyes water a little bit. So, yay. Thank you, Tiny Tarot, for this wonderful confirmation that I'm receiving personally, but also this great message to start with. How do we ride through this? Two of Cups, baby. What do the cups represent? That's our emotions. The cups hold the water the cups hold the waters, there we go, that are our emotions. And the Two of Cups is two people coming together in fellowship, having that toast together. This is understanding, if you have seen some of my previous podcasts as I go into the meaning here, to remember that we're all human beings, to remember that we're all having this experience together. Okay, so even someone that you may have looked at as, wow, their beliefs are different than mine. Wow, their skin color is different than mine. The language they speak is different than mine. Hell, the continent they live on is different than mine. Still a human being. All right, still has still has a heart, still has blood running through the veins, still has emotions, and we're really coming in to understanding that now. Part of this frequency raising on the planet is causing us to be much more empathic to each other, where before we could be flashed some images and told this person is your enemy because of their skin color. This person is your enemy because they live on a different continent. We can't really be influenced by that anymore. We realize that those little pictures that we're being shown are being exaggerated, and we are being manipulated, right? It's propaganda, straight up. So we get manipulated with propaganda, and then we start seeing our enemy as no longer human. And that's what Tiny Tarot says, first of all. Got to remember, we're all here to have the human experience. Okay, so as this change accelerates, as it does begin to feel that we're getting closer and closer together, I'm not really sure why I'm getting that channel message, but it's going to start to feel that way, that we're closer and closer together as humans. Remember that. Remember I'm going to stutter a little bit with this because it feels like it's coming through really hard. It's the necessity to remember that fellowship itself is what can help us navigate this next intense period that we're going to be going through. Thank you, Tiny Tarot. I appreciate that first part. And the next one, you don't know how many times I've shuffled these cards. You really don't. And I say these things because Temperance is one that I believe that we received before when we were talking about why wars happen. That was the episode where we got really deep into war. And at the end of that, when I asked how can we come through this next piece, and how do we alleviate that process of war that seems to be cycling through humanity over and over and over again, the two ending cards, I think if you look at that, were the Two of Cups and Temperance. And so look at what we're starting with, the Two of Cups and Temperance. And with the Temperance card, we have two cups. And those cups are maintained where they're not too hot, not too cold. Having the ability to keep your own personal emotions in check, no matter what you are being shown, or no matter what you're choosing to use as your source of news, what I would say, your informational nourishment. Be really discerning about your informational nourishment. Keep it very balanced. Of course, I want to stay informed. I hear people say that. That's great. But also, don't be going down rabbit holes. Don't go into places where you're going to be influenced by information that can be manipulated to manipulate your emotions, the water that's in the cup. Temperance keeps those emotions in check and understands I am no good if I allow myself to be triggered. Okay, that's a big thing. We got to be grown-ups about this and not allow ourselves to just be triggered by every little thing. We got to be calm, and that means we have to be well-nourished. Those of us that are empaths, we got to be well-nourished, not just with food, but we've got to be nourishing the body. We've got to be staying active. We've got to be nourishing the mind. We've got to keep learning, and we've got to be careful not to put trash in there. And that is, however you choose to do that with your personal media devices. It's different for everybody, but we've got to be careful how we are nourishing ourselves. And temperance also has one foot kind of dipped in the water and one foot on dry land. And this was pointed out to me in another read that I had recently, that I hadn't really pointed that out before. And the water is the emotion. So temperance has not only this emotion balanced in the cup, but one foot firmly on the ground and one foot not drowned in that emotion, but willing to test, right? To test the depths, to keep that balance. And I think of that in terms of my spiritual life. Again, I'm not just going to strip all my clothes and get rid of all my personal belongings and run off into the woods and live in a tree. Sure, there's part of us that might want to do that, but I'm also here as a light worker to help temper the energy in the construct in which I live. That's part of being a light worker. To me, that temperance sort of embodies that, is that I'm here to help temper the social circle, the familial circle, the media circle that I have any influence in. That's what I'm going to do, is be as tempered in my actions, in what I'm bringing to the table as possible, because that's where I have influence. I'm not going to go completely off the deep end, but and completely escape what I feel is reality. But I'm also not going to stay so on hard in reality that I let go of, the importance of the emotions that are happening in all of this. So it's the foot on ground, the foot in the water is very, very important in that card too. And here we go. And understanding giving yourself true mental rest. It's the Four of Swords. And the swords represent our thoughts and our words. And if you look at this, it's as if it almost looks like the tomb that they have set up when let's say a knight died in battle and he came back and his body is being observed, or what they do with the funeral process as people are grieving. So it's about the kind of rest that you achieve after a hard battle has been fought and you're done. That's it. I mean, there's nothing else for you to worry about. It's as if this is saying the battle's been fought, allow your mind to be eased over it. Do not spend a lot of time saying, how is this possibly all going to work itself out? The ball is really rolling. And at this point, our job is to be calm and collected. And what do they say? I think it's a Buddhist tradition where they say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And I always thought that meant enlightenment doesn't really change what you do on the earth. So keep working. I took it as kind of oh no, it's something I'm going to have to do forever. But it's really not that. It's that you continue to act in the world as you did before in your physical actions, right? And then now we understand carrying water has a little bit more connotation now. It means how you carry your emotions. How do you do work in the world, and how do you take care of your emotions now that you're enlightened? It may look to everyone like you're doing the same things, but it has a little bit different meaning to you now, post-enlightenment. So that's a lot of what this says. Rest your mind. Now is the time to be your true self and step forward with confidence, knowing that things are gonna be okay. And worrying about them constantly is not going to change things out in the world. I can focus on what's at arm's length. And that's another part of that Two of Cups. That's where you have influence, at arm's length. That's your family, your loved ones, your colleagues at work. That's where you have your influence. And that's where you shine your light and give your love. And you don't have to be as concerned about what's happening over on other continents, and being very careful about what information is being fed to you. Send light, send love, send prayer. Be as active as you want to be. I'm not discouraging any of that. But don't let those images make you think that this is the end of everything, because that's not it. If anything, it's as water comes to a boil, boy, there's a lot of activity that happens right there as that energy is being released. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. So mentally, our job is to imagine internally and use our words as if we are on the other end of this and feeling good about it. Oh, wow. And then the Page of Wands comes out. And the Page of Wands is interesting because it says there is new work to be done. There's literally new work to be done. And I like this feeling. This is true expression of self. This is you and this is just going to be an example, but like embracing my ability to read tarot and now taking opportunity to read tarot for other people and to make these videos and to get my podcast out. This is very new for me. I don't have a manual to go by. And that's the way this world is going to become quicker and quicker. There is no roadmap. We are forging ahead quicker than the maps can be written. And that could be happening literally as opposed to just metaphorically if we start considering space travel, if we start opening up to the possibility of that we're being observed by other beings that are just kind of ready and waiting for us to get our shit together, right? There's no guidebook for this, bros and sisses. We've been using really old maps. I mean, let's think about that. If we've been using very old texts by which to navigate the spiritual world, it's about to get real weird real quick. So we're going to have to think about, how do I want this new world to look for me? How do I want these changes to fall out for me? Because if I'm starting to realize, that reality is unique for each different person, even though we're kind of having a unified experience, and that I can dictate via my creative mind where I really want this new earth to solidify for me holographically. I hope you understand where I'm going with that. Then learn how to visualize that and work on that for yourself. How do you build that in your own life? If you've been really wanting to be an artist, how do you start being an artist from where you are right now? If you really want to start a family, if you really wanted to start homesteading, but you live in an apartment, hey girl, just start researching homesteading right now. There are things that we can do to create this next phase of our lives from where we stand right now. And this says, even if you're not sure what's next, pick up that wand and do something. Right? If you're concerned that the oceans are a little trashy, then find a lake near where you live and pick up some trash. All right? Even if there's a nasty place in your apartment complex, go pick up some trash. Go start being and doing the kind of people, like, if you want to see more people doing it, then you can be the first person that does. Right? If that makes any sense. It's like, be the change that you want to see in the world, literally, even if you're just so new at it that you're not sure where to start. There's plenty of information out there now. You probably have a neighbor that could use some help, honestly. Oh, and here's the Six of Cups. And I strongly feel that this is about our spirit guides. It's a nostalgic card, the Six of Cups, and it's about, looking back and saying, oh, back in the olden days, things were so simple. Come on, man. We have painted pictures like that. We always think of the past as being more simple. It's always been weird. We've always been predicting that, this is the generation that's going to ruin it for everybody. And that's been going on, back when they changed over from slates to using paper and pencil, something like that. There's an article in the 1920s where they were saying this is going to ruin kids because they're not going to know how to deal with chalk dust or something stupid like that. So this says, pardon me, and channel is reminding me, just get the message through. It's okay. This is also about rekindling the archaic knowledge that's already been there for us, but we really haven't been vibrating in a place where we had access to it before. So our ancestors were very tuned into nature, and they understood the cycles and where we were going. And they kind of already knew that there would be a time where we were less connected and we would experience a lot of growth during that period. But then some of us would reconnect right before this big shift takes place. And so we're starting to understand, what happened to the Druids and the Celtic pagans and, the Viking Norsemen and all of that mythology and how that was, erased from Christianity. You know what I'm talking about. And how religion has shaped all of our decisions for so long and kind of put us in a little thought matrix that we had a lot of trouble getting out of. And so now we're re-accessing a lot of that ancestral knowledge. Yay! That's very exciting. That is not a negative aspect of Six of Cups. A negative aspect of Six of Cups would be getting so caught in that reminiscing moment that you become dissatisfied with right now. If you became so caught up of, oh, I feel like I'm born in the wrong time, and if only things were like they were a long time ago, it would be better. That's not where we're coming from. We're coming from, how do I draw on this old knowledge? How do I draw on my ancestral line, both physically and spiritually, to get myself through, to call on these old, I say old, these innate talents that I know are in there, and utilize them in a way that helps improve my life, build this next section, build this next phase in the way that we want it to go. Because there's almost like a division happening. There's going to be groups of individuals who see the outside world and let others decide for them what their future will be. And then there will be those of us that get a little handle on, oh, you know what, all I have to do is shift this, and I can build a better reality for myself. And so I keep seeing the cell division moment, but I feel it's not literally like the earth is going to split in two or anything. It's more like people are going to understand that they have a lot more autonomy than what they realize, and they're going to literally change their reality that way. I know that's kind of deep and that's a lot, but it's not, it's not getting really that lost into woo-woo technology now that, woo-woo and technology are beginning to overlap. You realize that the more that we understand about space and the way that time works, the more that this woo-woo stuff becomes more real for us. It becomes easier to understand. It becomes like, oh, of course we've all got choices and different timelines, and we're just overlapping. And oh, of course, not all of the earth is rendered all at once. And of course, it might be slightly a different shape than what we understand. And where those things are suddenly so awful to talk about, it's because it's messing up the paradigms for the people that can't think outside that box. Oh, and here we go. And there's the Five of Wands right there, saying that we have everything we need. All we have to just do is really learn to cooperate. It's not that there's not enough resources on the planet. It's not that there's not enough knowledge. It's just that we have not been connected and coordinated in a way to really make it work up to this point. And any fear of lack or fear that it's all going to be destroyed due to our own lack of foresight is another form of, fear-mongering to keep you from being coordinated enough to get all of your sticks together and do the work that it takes to really clean up the planet, start getting along with each other, start really solving some problems, stop keeping things from each other as a form of maintaining power over them, right? And we know that's being done to us. We know that. We know there's technologies out there far beyond what you see in People magazine or This Week in Science. Really? That's probably, how many years old do you think that is before it even makes it into that article? We know that there's probably a lot more that we can do to improve our health and our longevity, but that's been held back for just people that can afford, right, exorbitant pricing, and that we've been treated a little bit like herds of cattle, inoculated and fed really awful things and sort of fattened us up and made us sick. All right, well, we're getting our sticks together. That's basically what this says. You have everything that you need to turn everything around, to ride this next little energy hump into something really wonderful. But it takes personal autonomy to do that. It takes this Two of Cups and this Temperance card to do that. It takes picking up a wand and doing something. Where you can make a change, make that change. Where you can make an effect, make that effect. And then feel good about it and move forward knowing that you're helping to create this new earth that all the spiritualists keep talking about. Because you're going to be part of it. Absolutely. I feel us coming out on the other end of this feeling so good. It's going to be challenging and it's going to be new. But it really is going to be good for those of us that understand the necessity for fellowship and true love for your fellow man and keeping your own emotions in check. Excellent. Thank you so much, Tiny Tarot. I am Low Key Magical with a K. Have a magical rest of your day.